I never thought fashion could feel like a lifeline. Not until that day when I stood in front of my tiny bedroom mirror, wearing a hoodie that had seen better days and jeans that felt stiff and lifeless. I stared at my reflection, feeling this odd mix of discomfort and longing, as if the person staring back at me wasn't really me at all. There was a part of me that had always wanted to experiment with clothes, with colors and shapes that seemed a little too bold for my shy personality, but I never dared. I had always stuck to the safe choices: neutral tones, comfortable shoes, anything that wouldn't draw attention. And yet, deep down, I knew there was a version of me somewhere that wanted to shine in ways my current wardrobe never allowed. The first spark came one lazy afternoon when I stumbled across a YouTube video titled, "From Casual to Bold: Your Fashion Awakening." I watched, mesmerized, as someone transformed their look completely, going from a plain, everyday outfit to something stunning, expressive, and undeniably themselves. The way the colors popped, the way the clothes hugged the person's form. It wasn't just fashion, it was art. And something in me ached to feel that same thrill. I wanted that confidence, that daring energy, and I wanted it badly. I started small. My first purchases were timid. Soft blouses in muted shades, a few patterned scarves, and a pair of shoes that were slightly more stylish than my usual sneakers. When they arrived, I unpacked them with nervous excitement, unsure if they would look right or if I could even pull them off. The first time I tried one on, I caught my reflection and froze. Something about the way the fabric moved, the way the color complemented my skin, it felt like a whisper of possibility. It wasn't perfect, not yet, but it was a glimpse of something new. I practiced in my room, standing in front of the mirror, experimenting with angles, postures, and small details that I had never considered important before. I realized quickly that transformation wasn't just about clothes, it was about attitude. The moment I slouched, the magic disappeared. But when I held myself upright, lifted my chin slightly, even the simplest outfit could start to feel powerful. I practiced smiles and expressions, unsure if anyone else would ever see them, but the reflection in my mirror became a kind of rehearsal stage for the person I wanted to be. But the more I tried, the more I hit roadblocks. There were days when I felt ridiculous, awkward, or even embarrassed. The scarf didn't sit right, the blouse looked oversized, the shoes pinched my feet. I wanted to give up several times, but each time I looked in the mirror, I saw a flicker of potential that refused to be ignored. I started keeping notes, jotting down what worked, what felt right, and what gave me that spark of excitement that made me forget my usual self-consciousness. Slowly, a plan formed in my mind. This wasn't just a hobby. This was a journey, a mission to uncover a part of myself I had hidden for too long. Then came the day I decided to step outside of my comfort zone. I had bought a brightly patterned dress months ago, but it had remained tucked in my closet, untouched, gathering dust. I stared at it, heart pounding, debating whether I could really wear it in public. What if someone stared or worse, laughed? What if I looked like a fool? And yet, another part of me, the part that had been watching transformation videos, reading blogs, and imagining myself as someone bold, urged me forward. With trembling hands I put it on. The fabric hugged my body in ways I had never experienced, and I adjusted it nervously, staring at myself in the mirror. I felt exposed, vulnerable, and alive all at once. When I finally stepped outside, the world seemed different. The light, the colors, the way people moved, it all felt heightened, as if my new outfit had shifted my perception. Some people glanced my way, and yes, some stared, but instead of shrinking back, I straightened my shoulders and held my head high. The nervous tremble in my chest transformed into a quiet thrill. For the first time, I realized that fashion wasn't just about hiding or fitting in. It was about discovering a version of myself that had always existed, waiting for permission to come forward. That was the moment I knew there was no turning back. The casual, safe clothing of my past felt like armor I no longer needed. I had tasted the excitement of boldness, and I wanted more. Every outfit became an experiment, every mirror a confidant, and every small victory a compliment from a stranger, a sense of comfort in an unfamiliar style, a spark that fueled the next daring choice. What had started as a timid curiosity was becoming a full-blown journey, one outfit at a time. I couldn't have known then that this path would challenge me in ways beyond clothes. Confidence, identity, and the way I viewed myself would all be put to the test. But even on the hardest days when I struggled with doubt or fear, there was always that flicker of possibility, the reminder that transformation isn't just about what you wear. It's about who you choose to be when no one is watching, and who you are willing to become when the world finally does see you. After that first daring outing in the patterned dress, I felt a rush that I couldn't ignore. It was intoxicating, the awareness that I had stepped out of my comfort zone and survived, even thrived. But as thrilling as it was, it also brought a new layer of fear. Every time I left the house, a voice in my head whispered doubts. Are you sure you can pull this off? Will people laugh? Will someone recognize you? Yet, those fears didn't stop me, they became fuel. The more I felt self-conscious, the more determined I was to master the art of transformation. I dove deeper into research, scouring online forums, watching countless fashion tutorials, and reading stories from people who had transformed themselves through style. Each video and post felt like a secret roadmap, revealing little tricks and techniques I had never considered. Suddenly, eyeliner could change the shape of my eyes, the right shoes could alter my posture, and the smallest accessory, a belt, a scarf, or a hairpin, could shift an outfit from ordinary to extraordinary. Every detail mattered. Every decision had weight. One afternoon, I decided it was time to tackle something I had avoided for years. Makeup. I had always been intimidated by it, thinking it was either too complicated or too flashy for someone like me. But I realized that if I wanted to transform completely, I had to confront that fear. I started with the basics: foundation, a little mascara, soft eyeshadow, and clumsily applied each product with trembling hands. When I looked in the mirror, the results were shaky at best, almost comical. But even in that imperfect attempt, there was a flicker of magic. The makeup didn't just change my appearance. It changed the way I felt. I held my head a little higher, smiled a little wider, and noticed something I had never noticed before. My reflection looked alive. Encouraged, I spent hours experimenting with colors, textures, and techniques. I watched videos showing how subtle contouring could redefine the face, how lip color could shift an expression entirely, and how blending eyeshadow could create a dramatic effect without feeling overdone. Slowly, my confidence grew. My hands became steadier, my choices bolder, and my reflection began to feel less like a stranger and more like a version of me I had always wanted to meet. But transformation isn't always linear. There were moments when frustration hit like a wall. A lipstick shade that seemed perfect in the store looked garish under daylight. A blouse that fit beautifully on the hanger clung awkwardly to my frame. Sometimes, no matter what I tried, I felt like a failure. I would sit on the edge of my bed, staring at my reflection, thinking maybe this journey wasn't for me. And yet, I never quit. Each setback became a lesson, each mistake a guidepost, and slowly, I began to understand that transformation wasn't about perfection, it was about expression. The real turning point came when I decided to attend a small social gathering. I had never introduced this side of myself to anyone outside my room. The thought terrified me. What if someone I knew saw me? What if I embarrassed myself? My heart raced as I laid out my outfit. A chic blouse with a bold pattern, fitted pants that accentuated my shape, and shoes that clicked confidently against the floor. I added a hint of makeup, brushed my hair carefully, and stepped back to examine the whole look. For the first time, I felt a sense of completeness, as if every piece of clothing, every detail, had been chosen with intention. The moment I walked through the door, I felt exposed yet exhilaratingly alive. People glanced, some with curiosity, others with admiration. I forced myself to breathe steadily, to stand tall, and to let my confidence lead the way. And then, something incredible happened. I realized that people weren't laughing. They weren't judging me as harshly as I had imagined. Some even complimented my outfit, my style, my appearance. The sensation was electric. That night, I learned a crucial truth. Transformation isn't just personal. It resonates outward. When you invest in yourself, even in ways that feel vulnerable, the world responds in ways you can't predict. After that night, my journey accelerated. I began exploring styles I had never imagined. Jackets with bold shoulders, skirts with vibrant prints, shoes in daring colors. Every new item was a chance to experiment, to test boundaries, to discover how far I could push myself. My wardrobe became a canvas, and I was the artist. I learned to mix and match, to layer textures, to balance patterns with accessories. And slowly, the timid, cautious person who once stood in front of the mirror felt like a distant memory. But the most profound change wasn't external. It was internal. Each transformation, each daring choice, strengthened a part of me I had neglected for years. I realized that confidence wasn't just about clothes or makeup. It was about trusting myself, trusting my instincts, and daring to be seen. With every outfit, every smile, every deliberate gesture, I felt a sense of liberation I had never experienced. The journey wasn't just about fashion. It was about discovering the courage to be unapologetically myself. And yet, even with all the progress, there was a lingering suspense, a question that haunted me. How far could I go? How bold could I become before I reached the limits of my comfort zone? I didn't know the answer yet, but the thrill of discovering it, one outfit at a time, was irresistible. The next stage of my transformation was the hardest, and the most thrilling. I realized that if I truly wanted to evolve, I couldn't just play it safe. The subtle upgrades, the muted patterns, the cautious accessories, they had all served their purpose, but now it was time to be bold, to challenge myself in ways I had never dared. I remember the first day I decided to experiment with vibrant colors that made me feel exposed, almost naked in their intensity. A bright red blouse, paired with a flowing skirt in a contrasting shade, stared back at me from the mirror, daring me to step into it. My heart thumped so loudly I thought it might give away my nerves. When I stepped outside in that outfit, I immediately felt the weight of eyes on me. It was thrilling and terrifying at once. I caught snippets of surprise, admiration, even confusion, and for the first time I understood what it meant to truly stand out. I wasn't invisible anymore. I was a statement, a presence, a version of myself that refused to shrink. And yet, in that same moment, doubt crept in. Would people accept this version of me? Was I crossing a line I couldn't come back from? I had never felt so alive and so vulnerable at the same time. That vulnerability became a driving force. I started taking notes on my experiences, mentally cataloging what made me feel confident and what made me retreat. I experimented with textures, silky fabrics that flowed with movement, structured jackets that added authority, delicate scarves that softened my silhouette. Each choice taught me something about myself, not just about style but about how I responded to the world. The clothes were mirrors, but also teachers, guiding me toward a deeper understanding of identity, presence, and expression. The next breakthrough came when I started experimenting with layering. I discovered that combining unexpected pieces, a bold vest over a soft blouse, patterned tights under sleek pants, chunky shoes with flowing skirts, could completely change the energy I projected. It was like learning a new language. Every outfit became a sentence, every accessory a punctuation mark, and together, they told a story that was unapologetically mine. I realized that transformation wasn't about imitating someone else. It was about interpreting myself in new, daring ways. But transformation has a way of exposing not just your style but your insecurities. I remember one afternoon, trying on a shimmering jacket I had dreamed of wearing for weeks. I stared at my reflection, thrilled by how it looked but simultaneously terrified. Could I really carry this energy outside? What if someone laughed? My hands shook as I adjusted the jacket, and for a moment, I considered abandoning it altogether. Then something inside me shifted. I remembered every small victory, every compliment, every moment I had dared to step into something unfamiliar and survived. I took a deep breath and left my room. Walking down the street in that jacket, I felt like a completely new person. Each step felt deliberate, empowered. The world seemed brighter, more vibrant. People glanced, some smiled, some looked twice, and I realized something profound. The boldness wasn't just in the clothes, it was in me. The fear I had carried for so long didn't disappear, but it became a companion rather than a barrier. I was learning to dance with it, to use it as fuel, and the thrill of that dance was intoxicating. Encouraged by this, I started exploring hair and accessories more seriously. A carefully chosen wig could transform my face entirely. Earrings, bracelets, necklaces, they weren't just decorative. They were extensions of my personality, statements of confidence, little sparks that completed the image I wanted to project. I experimented endlessly, sometimes failing spectacularly, but each attempt brought me closer to understanding the harmony between clothing, accessories, and self-expression. The mirror was no longer a place of insecurity. It was a stage, a laboratory, and a confidant all at once. Social situations became the real proving ground. I began attending small events and meetups, each time pushing my limits further. The first time I wore an outfit that was unapologetically loud in public, I felt eyes on me from every direction. My chest tightened, but I forced myself to walk tall, smile, and move with confidence. By the end of the night, people were approaching me, complimenting my style, asking questions, engaging with me in ways I had never imagined possible. It was exhilarating, affirming, and transformative. Every encounter reinforced the realization that my journey wasn't just about clothing. It was about discovering my own presence, my voice, my courage. And yet, the journey wasn't without emotional twists. Sometimes, when the adrenaline faded, I would stand in front of the mirror alone, feeling doubt creep back in. Was this really me, or just a character I had created? Was the confidence real, or just a mask? But over time I discovered the answer. It didn't matter if it started as experimentation or a fantasy. What mattered was the authenticity I found in the process. The bravery, the willingness to take risks, to stand tall, to be seen. Those were the real transformations. The clothes were only the catalyst. By the time I reached the point of full experimentation, I had become fearless in ways I had never imagined. Bright colors, bold patterns, dramatic accessories, unconventional combinations. None of it intimidated me anymore. Each outfit told a story. Each choice reflected a piece of my identity I had once hidden. And most importantly, I had learned to trust myself, to listen to that inner voice that said, "You can do this. You belong here." The mirror had become a friend, the world had become a stage, and I had become someone I was proud to meet every morning. By this stage, every step of my journey felt electric. I had moved past timid experimentation and cautious upgrades. Now, my wardrobe was alive with color, texture, and energy. But the most significant change wasn't in my clothes. It was in me. The reflection in the mirror no longer intimidated me. It challenged me, daring me to push further, to explore new possibilities, to embrace audacity. I realized that true transformation wasn't just about appearance. It was about presence. And presence demanded courage, vulnerability, and a willingness to reveal your authentic self to the world. The next challenge I set for myself was the boldest yet. I wanted to create looks that were not just stylish but magnetic. Each outfit had to tell a story before I even opened my mouth. I began sketching ideas, mixing textures, experimenting with layers, and pairing unexpected elements. Metallics with pastels, structured jackets with flowing skirts, statement shoes with delicate jewelry. It was chaotic at times, but chaos held possibility. Each experiment revealed something new about myself, something I hadn't known I could embody. I began to notice the way a confident stance could transform a simple outfit into a declaration, the way a tilt of the head could add an air of intrigue, the way a subtle smile could change the energy in a room. One evening, I decided it was time to test the full effect of my transformation. I had put together an outfit that felt daring and sophisticated. A sharply tailored blazer over a flowing blouse, fitted pants that emphasized my shape, bold shoes that clicked confidently on the floor, and accessories that balanced elegance with drama. I added a carefully chosen wig, styled my hair, applied makeup to highlight my features, and stepped back to examine the reflection. I didn't just see a new outfit. I saw someone commanding attention, radiating confidence, someone ready to meet the world head-on. The first time I wore this look in public was transformative in ways I couldn't have predicted. I walked into a busy cafe, the chatter and clinking cups fading into the background as I moved through the room. People glanced, some paused, some smiled, and I realized that none of it made me shrink. Instead, I felt an exhilarating sense of authority, as if my presence alone had become a statement. Every step was deliberate, every glance measured, every gesture purposeful. I was no longer hiding. I was performing, yes, but performing an authentic version of myself that had always existed beneath the surface. The reactions were astonishing. Strangers approached, offering compliments on my style, my hair, my makeup. Friends and acquaintances who had only known the cautious, neutral version of me were surprised, some even speechless. And in that moment, I understood something vital. Transformation isn't about seeking validation from others. It's about claiming your own space, owning your choices, and daring to be unapologetically visible. The confidence radiated from within, and it was contagious. People responded not just to my outfit, but to the energy it conveyed, the sense of self-assuredness I had cultivated through months of experimentation, practice, and self-discovery. But along with the exhilaration came unexpected emotions. I realized that transformation, even the most joyful and empowering kind, also brings vulnerability. I worried about judgment, about misunderstanding, about whether the bold version of me was fully accepted by the world I lived in. There were nights when I stared in the mirror, exhausted from the mental and emotional effort of maintaining this new presence, wondering if the courage would hold. Yet, each time I reminded myself of the journey that had brought me here. The timid hoodie in my bedroom, the first patterned dress, the clumsy makeup attempts, the nervous steps into public spaces. Those experiences had forged a resilience that couldn't be undone by fear. One particularly significant moment came when I attended a small gathering of creative people, all of whom had their own unique style. I had been nervous, unsure if my bold choices would fit in, but as soon as I arrived, something magical happened. People gravitated toward me, complimenting the intricate layering of my outfit, the careful balance of colors, the subtle play of textures. I realized that my transformation had reached a point where it wasn't just personal. It inspired curiosity, admiration, and connection. I wasn't simply wearing clothes. I was communicating identity, confidence, and courage through style. That night, as I walked home, I felt a profound shift within myself. The journey that had begun with tentative experimentation had evolved into a full-fledged metamorphosis. I had learned to navigate fear, to embrace vulnerability, and to wield style as a tool for self-expression. The reflection in the mirror was no longer someone I questioned or doubted. It was someone I had fought to become, someone who carried history, emotion, and courage in every movement. Every choice, every outfit, every bold stroke of makeup was a testament to that journey. I realized something essential. Transformation isn't linear, and it isn't finite. There will always be new styles to explore, new challenges to face, new facets of identity to uncover. The thrill comes not from perfection, but from evolution, watching yourself grow, daring to be more than you thought possible, and claiming space in a world that often encourages conformity. By the end of that night, I understood that the journey had never been just about clothes. It had been about daring to be seen, about trusting myself, and about embracing a version of me that had always been waiting for the courage to emerge. The final stage of my journey was unlike anything I had imagined. Every outfit, every experiment, every small victory had built to this moment, the point where I no longer questioned my choices, where fear was no longer a shadow lingering behind me, and where the person in the mirror felt completely aligned with the person I wanted to be. I had reached a place of boldness that felt effortless, yet every step to get here had been deliberate, emotional, and transformative. It began with a plan to create my ultimate outfit, something that would symbolize the entirety of my journey. I chose pieces that were vibrant, daring, and expressive, combining everything I had learned. Color theory, layering, balance, texture, and movement. A structured jacket with shimmering accents, a flowing blouse that played with transparency and light, fitted pants that highlighted my silhouette, and shoes that clicked with authority. I added accessories with intention, earrings that drew attention to my face, a necklace that reflected confidence, a belt that completed the composition. Every element had meaning. Every choice was deliberate. As I stood before the mirror, fully dressed, I felt an overwhelming rush of emotion. This wasn't just clothing, it was a story, a statement, a declaration. I looked at myself and saw every lesson I had learned. The timid teenager who hid behind hoodies, the nervous hours of experimenting with makeup, the first tentative steps outside, the moments of doubt and embarrassment, and the gradual awakening of courage and self-expression. All of it had led to this version of me. Bold, confident, expressive, and unapologetically alive. When I stepped outside in that outfit, the world seemed transformed. Every glance, every interaction, every reflection in a passing window felt amplified, like I was radiating energy I hadn't fully realized I possessed. People noticed. Not just my appearance but the confidence, the presence, the deliberate energy I carried. Some smiled, some complimented, and some simply paused, captivated by the authenticity I projected. For the first time, I felt a profound truth settle within me. Transformation is not about others' approval. It's about claiming your space, owning your choices, and daring to live visibly and authentically. The journey had taught me resilience. I had learned to navigate fear, self-doubt, and uncertainty. I had discovered that vulnerability could be a source of strength, and that daring to be seen was not reckless. It was powerful. Each outfit I wore, each accessory I chose, each detail I perfected was a reflection of the internal courage I had cultivated. The person I had once hidden in hoodies and plain jeans had been replaced by someone radiant, expressive, and alive. Yet every step of that transformation was anchored in authenticity. Even in moments of reflection, when I was alone in my room or walking quietly through a park, I felt the impact of this journey. The mirror had become a friend, a guide, a witness to growth. Clothing had become a tool, a medium, and a form of self-expression. And most importantly, I had learned that transformation is ongoing. There is always a new way to experiment, a new angle to explore, a new facet of identity to embrace. The thrill comes not from reaching a final destination, but from daring to evolve continuously, to test boundaries, and to celebrate the courage it takes to be unapologetically yourself. Looking back, I realized the journey from basic to bold was never about fashion alone. It was about self-discovery, resilience, and embracing the fullness of who I am. Each outfit, each experiment, each leap of courage had revealed a layer of identity I had longed to explore. The excitement of transformation, the thrill of being truly visible, and the profound satisfaction of standing in alignment with myself created a sense of freedom I had never known. As I continued forward, I knew the path would always hold new challenges and opportunities for expression. There would be days of doubt, moments of hesitation, and times when the bold choices felt overwhelming. But now I had the tools, the confidence, and the clarity to navigate them. I had unlocked a way of living that honored my desires, celebrated my individuality, and allowed me to radiate presence with every step. I had gone from basic to bold, not just in style but in life itself. And as I looked into the mirror one final time that evening, fully transformed, fully present, I smiled. Not at the outfit, not at the reflection, but at the journey itself. Every misstep, every triumph, every anxious, exhilarating moment had brought me here. I felt grounded, alive, and limitless. The mirror reflected not just who I was, but who I had become. Confident, expressive, and unapologetically me. And in that reflection, I saw the promise of every future transformation, every bold choice yet to come, and the undeniable thrill of a life fully lived in color, texture, and daring self-expression.